Welcome to the first ever story on the Five Tool Baseball Network. I am Jake Morganstein alongside Ryan Schlesinger, and today we have the story of Shohei Ohtani from him first signing a big league contract with the Los Angeles Angels in 2018 all the way to his $700 million contract and a World Series victory. I'm joined by Ryan Schlesinger. How are you doing tonight, Ryan?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about Shohei, arguably the most decorated player of this era. He's already a three-time MVP, four-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, two-time Major League Player of the Year. He just won his first World Series of probably many more, and he's also a three-time Silver Slugger. He just turned 30, and he already has 46.5 BWAR across his career, which spans across 8 years now. It's been 8 years since he first signed with the Angels in 2018.
Yeah, Shohei Ohtani when he signed in 2018, so we'll get the story started here. He signed with the Los Angeles Angels out of the NPB in Japan, and he was the first really two-way player of the modern era in MLB, and a lot of people questioned how he would fare as a hitter and a pitcher, and definitely along with how hard he throws with his arm, where he has had multiple injuries when it comes to pitching. He did not pitch in all of 2019 at all, and has been injured during a lot of his career. And Ryan, what was the beginning of his career like with the Angels in like the first 1 to 2 seasons?
Yeah, it was actually a very shaky start for him. And although he did win Rookie of the Year, he had a great first year. Let's start with that. In 2018, he put up a 2.7 baseball reference WAR in 104 games. He recorded 367 plate appearances and recorded an OPS of 151. So he easily won Rookie of the Year, and it wasn't remotely close. The only people within striking distance of winning Rookie of the Year over him were Miguel Andujar, who had a one-year wonder type season with the Yankees that year, and Miguel Andujar's teammate with the Yankees, Gleyber Torres, who's had himself a career, but certainly nothing near what Shohei Ohtani has done. But yeah, back to Shohei's 2018 season. He hit 22 home runs, and that would be a career high for him for a few years, because in 2019, another good season, not as good. He recorded a 2.4 baseball reference WAR, so 0.3 less than what he did in his rookie year. In two more games, he played 106 games that year, and his OPS plus went down significantly from 151 in his rookie year to 121 in his sophomore campaign. And then he had an injury. He did not pitch in 2020, and it also affected him at the plate. He played 44 games that year and recorded 175 plate appearances in that shortened 60-game season. So he played about 3/4 of the year, and he only had a 79 OPS plus, a 657 OPS for him. So it was by far the worst year of his career. It was an all-time low for his baseball career, not just his MLB career, but including his NPB seasons back in Japan, because he started playing in the NPB when he was like 18, 19, 20. He was always regarded as a top prospect, and he never had a season this bad. He batted below 200 at 190, but people knew that in 2021, when he was available to pitch again and he would be fully healthy, he was very likely to have a much better year. As you know, people knew how talented he was from his first two seasons, and 2020 was kind of just an outlier year for him. So yeah, we'll pause that segment after recapping his first 3 years.
Yeah, but what I want to touch on with that is in 2020 he pitched 1 2/3 innings only, and in those 1 2/3 innings, it was in two different games, it was two different starts. He gave a total of 7 earned runs, had an ERA of he had an ERA plus of 14, an ERA of 37.8, and a FIP of 14 when it comes to that, and had an average of walks and hits per innings pitched, which is WHIP, of a 6.6. So he had 6 guys on base per inning on average in that 2020 season, and that's when we turn into where he has to really prove himself in 2021, 22, and 23, as he has the ability to what would eventually become a record-breaking contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So we'll start in 2021. In 2021, he was a average pitcher, is what I'll say. He had a 3.18 ERA, a 3.52 FIP. He wasn't bad when it comes to a pitcher. He had a total of 156 strikeouts and 44 walks, but at the plate is the reason why he won the MVP that year, and that was his first MVP. He came to the plate with a 153 RBAT plus a 965 OPS. He hit over 250, which wasn't great for him, but he did hit 46 home runs in that year, as well as he just broke the 100 RBI mark for the first time in his career. And overall, it was just a very, very good season for Ohtani. He put up almost 5 BWAR, which is really, really good when it comes to average per season. And he really won that MVP without any competition, is what I'll say. And then 2022 came along, and I'm going to let you jump in there.
Yeah, so 2022, before opening day even rolled around in 2022, it was going to be a big year for Shohei Ohtani because he was named the cover athlete of MLB The Show 22. Obviously, this was monumental. I believe he was the first Japanese cover athlete ever, and probably the first Angel in quite some time, as I don't think Mike Trout ever made the cover. He was doing like the 9 innings and RBI baseball covers. But anyways, on the field in 2022, he was even better than in 2021, arguably. The OPS plus going down a bit from 157 to 144. But he broke out as a pitcher that year as he finished 4th in Cy Young voting. And unfortunately for him, since he was in the AL at the time, now he's in a different league than Aaron Judge in the NL, with Judge being in the AL respectively. But unfortunately for him, he was in the AL at that time, so he did not win MVP, as Aaron Judge broke the home run record that year. So he edged him out for MVP, although it was somewhat close considering how good Judge was. Judge put up a 10.8 WAR. He nearly won MVP unanimously. Ohtani had a 9.6 WAR when you factor in his pitching and hitting together. But yeah, Judge well-deserved to win the MVP that year, but Ohtani even making it close in a year in which Judge put up 62 home runs. He scored 133 runs. He had a 686 slugging percentage and an OPS north of 1,100. That is just insane to even come close to that. And that was, again, like a worse year as a hitter for Ohtani. He had an OPS below 900, which for him isn't great. He hasn't had an OPS below 900 in any year since then. But yeah, I'll end it right there as we'll move on to his 2023 season in a moment.
Yeah, but before I touch on this 2023 season, is if we look at his whole career and we really look at last year he had a 9.2 WAR with just at the plate. And the thing is with that just at the dish is if he comes back to pitching, he puts up, let's just say he puts up 9 WAR hitting each year, and then he puts up about 3.5 to 4 WAR. He could realistically, with the amount of WAR that he has right now, break the WAR record, which is held right now. He's in about the 380th area, which is held by Babe Ruth, who has a 182.6 WAR. And if Ohtani puts up about 14 WAR per year due to pitching and hitting when he comes back to pitch, as he is injured right now, he could really realistically break that record. But let's head on to 2023, where he won his second MVP. Ohtani put up arguably his best season of his career, hit over 40 home runs, had an over 1,000 OPS. He was coming off winning the World Baseball Classic earlier before the season started. He struck out his teammate Mike Trout to end that World Baseball Classic. And overall, Shohei Ohtani in 2023 was a huge part of the Angels, and he really had a prove-it year. Is his contract, whatever he gets, is it going to be so worth it? And he really proved why he's worth that. And when we touch on his contract, we also have to touch on, if you put that picture right back up, is his endorsement deals with New Balance and other places like Fanatics. They've got Psycho Watch is one of his. He's just a global superstar, and he's on pace to earn $100 million in just endorsement deals this year.
Yeah, it's truly remarkable how much of a global superstar Shohei Ohtani has become. You look at his Instagram page and you go to posts he's mentioned, there's probably about 20, if not more, posts per day where people are tagging Ohtani. Anytime someone goes to a Dodgers game, they'll tag Ohtani in the post. I mean, he's just not only the face of the Dodgers and the Angels, but the face of Major League Baseball and maybe the most relevant athlete in all of sports across the entire world with his global presence in Asia, in Japan, in Korea, wherever he goes he is known. And I think it would be hard to find a person on this planet who has never heard of Shohei Ohtani because you have to live under a rock to not know of Shohei.
Yeah, but let's touch on the 2023 trade deadline. The Los Angeles Angels had the chance to trade Shohei Ohtani to a contending team and have a completely huge future with if they trade Ohtani to a team. Let's just say that the Marlins were in playoff condition that year. Let's just say that they trade him to the Marlins. You could get a lot of the Marlins system, who at the time was still a relatively good system, and or you could even go trade him to Baltimore. Even the Yankees would probably go ahead and try and trade for him. You trade Ohtani, you could get a complete change to your franchise, but they decided to keep him. And I'll let you touch on his 2023 season, but you have to touch on that trade deadline also.
Yeah, it was a very odd trade deadline with how the Angels handled it because they had not made a statement on whether he was available or not. And I know several teams called in to see if he was available. And then about a few days before the trade deadline, it became known to the public that Ohtani was not available for trade. The Angels were going to try to keep him in hopes that they could extend him before he hit the open market. And it was also weird because Ohtani actually got injured before the season officially came to a close, not even that long after the trade deadline. So thankfully, a team didn't trade pretty much their whole farm system away for what could have only been a few games of Shohei Ohtani had they not been able to extend him after the season before he hit the open market. But yeah, back to what I was saying. That year in 2023, even though he only played 135 games with his season being shortened due to an injury that prevented him from pitching in the following season, and he still has not been able to pitch since. It's been hard to ramp him up because you don't want to mess up his hitting by starting him on a throwing program. But yeah, in 2023, offensively in those 135 games, he put up 599 plate appearances, and he led the league in OPS with a 1,066 OPS. He led the league in slugging with a 654 slugging percentage, in OBP with a 412 OBP. He had 44 home runs, which led the league. And just pretty much in every significant statistic, he led the league. I mean, he even hit 8 triples that year, which didn't lead the league, but it would have in 2021 when he did lead the league in triples with 8 as well. But yeah, he easily won MVP that year in what would go on to be his final season with the Angels. He was also a Silver Slugger, an All-Star, and yeah, just like I mentioned before, one of the most decorated players of this era, and this season really shows it one of his best seasons offensively.
Yeah, and then you hit the 2024 or 2023 offseason into the 2024 season, and Shohei Ohtani has now hit the open market. There's teams like the Dodgers, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Yankees. Everyone wants Shohei Ohtani. The Angels and Dodgers were really two of the final 3 teams, along with well-known the Toronto Blue Jays, who the Toronto Blue Jays, per John Morosi, he was on a flight to Toronto the same day that he signed with the Dodgers, and Shohei Ohtani announced himself on Instagram that he will be signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers on a 10-year, $700 million contract, the largest contract for a single player per year, and which is AAV, average annual value, in sports history, with $70 million a year. He's going, and then about a couple days later, it came out that $68 million a year is going to be deferred money, and he'll be only paid $2 million a year for the next 10 years. And $68 million in deferred money will be paid to him, each $68 million for 10 years after that. So in 20 years is when he'll have his full Major League Baseball contract paid to him. and it just him doing that just shows more of him as a team player. It's really a Dodgers thing to have players defer money. It's a tradition in with the Dodgers, but really with Shohei to defer that much money is just a really team move. And they went out and they did more. They signed Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who is a star pitcher coming out of the NPB in Japan during that offseason, and they did even more.
Yeah, and then offensively, when you look at the statistics in 2024, it was his best season. He did not pitch, so that probably played into it because he only focused on hitting. But still, you got to remember, he did not play the end of the 2023 season. So some people maybe thought he would get off to a slow start, even offensively in 2024, coming off that elbow injury that still affected him as a hitter. Obviously, it would affect him way more as a pitcher, but it definitely affected him a little bit. But he dealt with it perfectly. And in a lineup where he was surrounded by not one, but two superstars for the first time ever. He had been playing with Mike Trout for the first 6 years of his career, but Trout was rarely healthy during most of those 6 years. And they didn't have another superstar with Ohtani and Trout like that. Now he was in a Dodgers lineup, which had Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez. After the trade deadline in 2024, it had Tommy Edman. And it also had Max Muncy, Will Smith. You just have a bunch of perennial all-stars batting around Shohei Ohtani. So now you have to pitch him. You can't pitch around him because if you pitch around him or intentionally walk him, you have to face another former MVP in Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman. And so the result of that was Ohtani putting up a 9.2 B-WAR offensively that season. He did it all as a DH, and B-WAR is a statistic that factors in defense. So for him to put up 9.2 just as a DH is just record setting. I think it's the best B-WAR ever in a single season by a primary DH, one who literally didn't make a single appearance in the outfield or infield or even at pitcher. Like he just played DH for every single game, and he put up a 9.2 B-WAR. And then the offensive statistics, a 310 batting average. He led the league in OBP with 390. He led the league in slugging percentage with 646. Another season with an OPS north of 1,000. He had a 1,036 OPS that year and a 189 OPS plus, which is 89 points above average because the league average is 100. For those of you casual baseball fans who may not know that. And then he had a 54 homer season, 130 RBIs, which is currently a career record for him. And it just shows the difference from going to the Angels to the Dodgers, because with the Angels, his record for RBIs before coming to the other side of LA was 100. And then he breaks that by more than 30 just by being surrounded by the Dodgers. So it's just insane what going to a good team does for you. And he did even more than just putting up a 9.2 B-WAR. He also made history by hitting 50 home runs and stealing 50 bases, the first player with a 50-50 season. And he came close to a 60-60 season. In total, 54 homers and 59 stolen bases. He played 159 games, so you can't really make the argument that if he played more games, he would have gotten there. But he was very, very close to 60-60. It's just insane to even comprehend that. And beyond that, I'll let you discuss this. He did even more in the playoffs.
Yeah, but what I also want to mention with the stolen bases is that Shohei Ohtani is not known for his speed. He is just a smart base runner. And when being a very smart base runner, you could steal 59 bases. Yes, he does have some speed, and he's definitely pretty well and faster than significantly faster than the average player, but he still is not known for his speed. So stealing 59 bases is incredible. In September, he had arguably one of the greatest single game performances by a player against your Miami Marlins with Shohei Ohtani. In the game, he hit 50-50. He hit 3 home runs in that game, as well as stole multiple bases to get to 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in a single season, he is the only player in the history of MLB to do that. And then come to the postseason time, the Dodgers they match up with the San Diego Padres. Game 1, the Dodgers took, if I'm correct, the Dodgers won game number 1 of that series, and then in game 2 and 3, the Padres really showed out. They pitched 7 scoreless innings in game 3 to take a 2-1 series lead. But then the Dodgers came out hot. They're with some of the best pitching in baseball, and they shut out the Padres for 18 innings in a row. They took an 8-0 win in San Diego in Game 4, and then they took a 2-0 win against the San Diego Padres in Game 5 off of a Kike Hernandez 2-run home run. And then the entire Padres team really couldn't hit anything in that Game 5, as now Ryan's going to play the first ever.
Man.
Is this his first ever playoff home run?
Here? Yeah. Here's a 2-1. There's a drive. It's a bullet. Was there any doubt? Shohei Ohtani arrives in October with a 3-run home run. He's proven to be inevitable. You can't get him out the same way every time, and that's what you get false sense of security by the way that he swung at those fastballs.
So there's Shohei Ohtani's first ever playoff home run in his first ever game and his second ever playoff at bat. So first he does that. Then you head to and they take a 3-2 series win in a best of 5 series, and then they go ahead and play my New York Mets. First game is a blowout. The Dodgers kill the Mets. Kodai Senga's second pitching game, your start of 2024, besides his one regular season start and so second postseason start and his third overall start. And it was really Jack Flaherty killed for the Dodgers. He shed for them and delivered a win. Game 2, the Mets came back and won. Game 3, it was all Dodgers, and they won 8-0. Game 4, the Dodgers also did that. Game 5, a Pete Alonso first-inning home run led the Mets to winning Game 5, but the Dodgers closed it out at home in Game 6. And Shohei stats from that series where he hit 364, had a 1,185 OPS. He hit 2 home runs. He had 9 walks, he struck out 7 times. He had 6 RBIs, and just overall, just another incredible performance by Shohei. And Shohei, he didn't steal a base in the series, but he got caught stealing once, and that's how the NLCS went. And then you have to touch on the World Series, where they absolutely killed the New York Yankees.
Yeah. I mean, Shohei didn't do a ton in this World Series, but it didn't matter because of how good the Dodgers were as an overall team. Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off grand slam in Game 1. They had an epic comeback in Game 5 of that series in New York, and they ultimately won that series 4-1. And Shohei, even though he didn't have the best playoff performance, he still hit that homer in Game 1 of the NLDS, which helped them win that. And part of his playoff performance struggles was because of an injury. He hurt his shoulder sliding into second base in a World Series game, and that ultimately delayed his pitching timeline even further back. And we still don't know when he'll pitch. As of the latest, Shohei won't pitch until at least after the All-Star break this year. But even if he never pitches a single inning again, he will still be the best player of this era by far. He's just that good of a hitter. He does not need to pitch. As I already said before, he put up a 9.2 B-WAR in a year where he just hit, didn't play the field, didn't pitch, didn't do anything else, just hit and stole bases. So yeah, bottom line is Shohei Ohtani, when it's all said and done, I think he'll go down as the GOAT. I think he'll be better than Babe Ruth.
I agree. I think he'll be the GOAT.
Better than Barry Bonds, and he will be easily the most accomplished athlete of this era, I think.
But there's one thing that we forgot to touch on, and that was that Shohei was involved in a scandal at the beginning of 2024 with his interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara. Ippei had stolen, I think it was $16 million from Shohei to illegally gamble with a legal bookie at the start of 2024. Nobody knew what was going on. There was also a bomb threat at the stadium during that time. And it turned out that Shohei just had money stolen from him by Ippei, who ran everything to do with Shohei, as he could speak English and Japanese. And there Ippei is on his way to, I think that's court.
Yeah.
before getting sentenced to, I think, how long was he
I
sentenced
think it was
for?
15 years.
15 years in prison?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ipe Mizuhara will likely be never seen again after this, but Shohei claimed to be Ipe's friend for a very, very long time, and there's lots of different reports coming out. Is Ipe, if Shohei knew about it, if he didn't, how was Shohei going to react to it? And there's a lot of stuff that happened that went on. Overall, the sports world has really forgotten about Ipe to start 2025, and you have to touch on, though, that scandal a little bit. Well, after we talked about from him signing with the Angels, coming to MLB, the Dodgers signing, his endorsement deals, and really everything about Shohei, that's going to wrap it up for our first story on the 5-Tool Baseball Network. Alongside Ryan Schlesinger, I am Jake Morganstein, and you just listened to the story of Shohei Ohtani.